So Terry, I want to ask you a question. Your music is often described as electro, soft, pop, rock, and your next album, Hope Over Distraction, is it based on similar themes previous to your albums?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So the first release, Love Over Destruction, which we launched last May, and as you said, the most popular sort of streamed, downloaded track from that, which subsequently was a single to coincide with that release, which was Sadder Than Strange, is our most downloaded song to date, which we're obviously really pleased about. And Amber is the featured vocalist on that. And then 1 year later, this year in 2021, on May the 10th, we have Hope Over Destruction. So it's kind of a continuation in terms of genres and themes, but also keeping to the brief that, every song is somewhat different with different sort of musical styles and twists and turns. And we've managed to, even on 3 songs, include, an orchestral arrangement to sit behind a kind of a classic pop rock track of, bass, drums, guitar, vocals, keyboard. So I'm really pleased with the body of work on this album. I think we've really kind of upped our game, as it were, in terms of production and structure of the music. So really looking forward to people hearing it, and hopefully people will enjoy it that have come on board this musical journey with us as Tizre.
That's amazing. So I've heard that the album has a lot of styles, from electronic R&B into soft pop rock into soft pop rock. So why are the styles so different?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to be known, well, I didn't want sort of have a continuation of genres on, every single track and then be pigeonholed into, oh, okay, they do this kind of music and that's kind of it. What I like to do is take the listener on a kind of a musical journey where, they're kind of introduced to, a certain genre, and then the next track is something completely different. So lots of little different twists and turns along that musical journey as you hear through the album. So you never really know what to expect. But there's always a foundation that it's kind of like this core bedrock of, electronic, pop, rock, embedded in there somewhere. There's a core to it, but then a couple of layers on top is where it starts to kind of to be a lot different. Yeah, so in the aim of taking the listener through a journey, I was very conscious that I wanted to kind of do that, but keep at its core, its foundation, if you like, of pop, electronic, sort of rock music. So and it seems to hit with the listener very well. They like being taken on the journey of different styles that's presented to them.
Amazing. So we're gonna hear some highlights of your musical styles featuring with Amber. The first is All Over the World. You're one of the featured vocalists, so tell me a little bit about your background, and have you collaborated with other artists?
I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa, which I am sure you can tell by my British, not really British accent. Um, I started singing properly around 10 years ago, I'd say. I started training after one of my teachers saw something special, I would say, in my voice. And from then, I've been kind of doing performances and lots of little talent shows and stuff, just kind of working on my singing and how I perform. Then around 2018, I started working online, trying to make a bit of income with my voice. I got a little microphone and I started a Fiverr gig, which was where I got in contact with Tizre. I was approached and I was only asked to sing about 6 songs at first, but now I think I've sung about 19. I've been working with Tizre for about 2 years now, and it's been a great experience actually, because the songs I get are always really cool to work with. They're very different, and I get to play around with how I approach it vocally. I work with other artists all the time, but I think I've definitely worked with Tizre the most.
Your lyrics, Terry, seems to be very straightforward with love songs. Was your aim to be like that, or did you want it to be like an open interpretation songs?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you listen to every song that's been released so far, whether it be a single or album tracks, there is a theme of like relationships, makeup, breakup, the start of relationships, the ending of relationships. But what I like to do, I don't like to have a lyric where it's too analytical, where it's too deep. Which there are lots and lots of songs from lots of different artists where their lyric can be interpreted in lots of different ways, and you have to think about it, which I personally love. But I wanted purposely just to kind of not to the point of like bubblegum pop where it's like I love you and you love me, because that's it's pretty boring.
Absolutely.
But something that's a little bit deeper, but for the listener to instantaneously get what the song is, but also in their own world, it's open to interpretation in terms of what they're going through at the time. They may have had a recent experience in the past, or what they're going through at the moment. So I'm trying to look for that kind of angle where most, if not all, of the music, it resonates at some level with the listener. So it's very easy to digest, and they kind of get it. But what supports that is the kind of the groove and the tempo of the song that really kind of delivers that lyric. And of course, without the great talent of the vocalist, Gianna and Lorena and Amber singing on the tracks, they really do, I think, add a lot more dramatic effect to the lyrics, and they really interpret the songs really well, and you can hear that in their voice when they perform it. So I'm really pleased. I mean, they certainly exceeded my expectations of what they could do with the song from a lyrical sort of perspective. So I'm very happy.
Oh my God, I'm so happy for that. That's so amazing.
Thanks. Yeah.
So Terry, tell me a little bit about your influences, and also Amber, what do you guys like to hear?
Okay, so all of my influences are kind of from when I grew up, because I feel like it's a little hard to find like really good influences in these like modern times, because I feel like a lot of music is kind of almost all the same, which is kind of what I really appreciate about Tizre actually, because it really infuses a lot of genres and it's really unique and it really stands out, which I like. But if we go back to, let's say, the 2010s, I'd say in terms of my style, my greatest influence is definitely Adele. Like I find it so amazing how, even though she says she struggles with technique, she makes up for it in her emotiveness and her style and just the essence and tone of her voice, really. And I'd say I also kind of looked into Evanescence's style. And I've actually been compared to the lead singer quite a few times in terms of my tone. But in terms of like how I really perform, I really, really love rock music. And sometimes I feel like I don't even appreciate it enough, actually. And another genre that I also really like in terms of influences is jazz, which I really appreciate because I consider it a musical playground where there's a lot of space to improvise and play around and just find your style.
Well, I mean, personally for me, I mean, again, you know, there's no surprise that I'm sort of writing, arranging and producing electronic soft pop, although that's quite a mouthful. But I would say, I mean, you know, my influences, again, are very eclectic, right from ABBA to ZZ Top and everything in between. So if I hear a song, I don't care who it's by, who they are. If I hear the song and I like it, you know, and I think most people are like that. So I'm not pigeonholed into I only listen to this kind of stuff and I only want to listen to this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, in terms of influences, I mean, we go right back to, you know, sort of, you know, classic rock, you know, right through to sort of electronic music, particularly electronic music, and, you know, soft rock, pop from the 80s and the 90s. Very much influences me. And, you know, so I listen to a lot of this music, and, you know, music is my life, and, you know, and everyone has, you know, it's a cliche, but it's a soundtrack to your life. So I like to pinpoint these influences, and in probably most, if not all of the songs, there is a hint or certainly a direct link to, you know, a group that could be, I mean, it could be as far as wide as from like Talk to the Stranglers to, you know, One Direction or whatever, you know, it's, and I could point them out to you if I was listening to a song with someone else, but, and some people actually will say at certain points within a song, hey, that's very reminiscent of Eric Clapton or whatever. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, exactly. That is the influence of that song that I brought into that song without sort of, you know, complete plagiarism, but it's a feel. It's oh yeah, that feels like a, you know, Depeche Mode song or whatever. You know,
Absolutely.
so they instantly resonate with it.
Oh, that's very interesting. So let's hear one song of the album Hope Over Distraction. The song is called You Don't Know Me. I want to ask a question to Amber. What is your process to interpret this song?
So for You Don't Know Me, the theme of empowerment is very obvious and strong. So I really wanted to convey that newfound inner strength when I sang the song. But at the same time, there's also an element of sadness in the lyrics, from heartbreak and not feeling appreciated in the past. So I tried to find that balance when I sang it.
Broken chains, I feel you releasing me. I wanna change, unlocking the key. I feel no pain, I feel no pain now. I am free, you don't know me. You were so sad that your heart that you gave was a broken mess. I pride myself that I walked away and never looked back. Reach in your soul, you need to know. You must know I will never let you in. I will never let you in.
I can ask you, Amber, what do you feel are the advantages of recording remotely and perhaps some of the disadvantages? I'm presuming you haven't met the other artists involved. And the same question goes for you also, Terry.
I'd say the biggest advantage is definitely the convenience, because I don't really have to like get up and get dressed and drive anywhere to a recording studio. I can just get out of my bed and take a few steps into my cupboard where my microphone is set up and get going. Although, again, one of the disadvantages with that is you have to be your own recording engineer. So that's kind of where I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the recording process, because you always have to get like the right position and the right gain levels, because the thing is I can get these amazing takes, but they're unusable because either the gain was too low and it's too soft, or the gain was too loud and it's distorted. So it's a little bit difficult there, but I have quite a few years of experience now and I'm definitely getting better at that. It's true that we've never met. I actually don't really know who any of the other featured vocalists are, other than their names, of course. I've never interacted with them at all. I've only interacted with Terry, who's in England, I think, which is right on the other side of the world. So, of course, we've never met, unfortunately. So there's both an advantage and disadvantage there of creative freedom with remote recording, because I'm basically just given the track, the reference and the lyrics and told, go, please sing this. So again, I'm given total creative freedom in how I want to approach the song, which I think is part of Tizre's charm and their uniqueness. I think leaving space for creative freedom is really important in online collaboration, because if you're in a studio, or unless you're on a Skype call at the same time while you're recording, you don't get instructions and direction as you go. And in this environment, I don't think you're ever going to get the exact take you want in your mind. Otherwise, you're going to have to ask your vocalist to sing the same thing like 200 times until you get it exactly the way you want it.
For me, there are many advantages and disadvantages to recording remotely, and I think over the past year with the pandemic, it's given me, without sounding too opportunistic, it has given myself, and of course I'm sure many other artists that haven't been able to go into a recording studio or perform live or whatever, though that's something that I don't do is play live and have no intention to do that going forward. But it's given me opportunities to really kind of slow the process down, work with the artists remotely, and what I've been fortunate enough is, because I use artists globally, and in today's technology, I'll have a basic track of the drums, guitar, or whatever it may be, and I'll say to the guitarist, for example, in Brazil, and say, right, okay, what I'd like is like a 40-second lead guitar solo there.
Absolutely.
And so he'll listen to the track, get into it, etc., and he'll come back with with 2 or 3 versions of a lick or whatever, and same with the vocalist as well. And I've been extremely lucky that it's been very rare where I've had to go back to any artist and say, can you do that again?
Oh my God, I love it.
And what I like about working with artists remotely is because they have grown up with their own musical influences and styles. And of course, they will be listening to, global artists, but also probably listening to a lot of local artists that pertain to their culture and background. And you can definitely hear it in the way that they play, the style of their playing. And I think it just unites and uniforms a great collection of artists that then, when I get all these musical files in, then it just allows me to arrange them and produce them effectively. And then at the end, the outcome is you've got a great track with people from around the world contributing to it. The disadvantage, of course, is that we're not together. We can't go and record.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't say to Amber, oh, can you just slightly say that word a little bit more, aggressively or whatever. It's not instantaneous. So basically, and of course, the camaraderie that you get with working with other members in a group, it's good fun, and it's very collaborative. So we don't get that, but we often, of course, we talk over Zoom and emails and phone calls, which is nice. But I'm hoping that one day that there will be an opportunity that all of us get together somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yes.
spend a day. I think it'd be just amazing. So, fingers crossed that actually happens.
Yeah, that's gonna be amazing. Absolutely. So yes, I have another question. So again, from the album Love Over Distraction, as we mentioned, as we know, the most streamed song is Sadder Than Strange, and I hear a lot of conviction on Amber's voice. And what is your approach on that song for your voice to sound like that? And with the album Hope Over Distraction, there are diversities in tempos and genre. Amber sings this song Keeps Me Awake, and the lyrics suggest like isolation of a breakup, talks about a breakup. How did you interpret the lyrics, and how did you influence your approach vocally for this song that talks about a breakup?
My approach to Keeping Me Awake was quite similar to Sadder Than Strange, but I wanted to sound more fearful and unsure, because the theme of like heartbreak and struggling with being put down is a lot more prominent than in the other songs that I've discussed, where I sound more confident. So often I like to express that fearfulness in my use of vibrato, where it's more shrill, thin and quiet, where maybe for other songs like You Don't Know, it's deeper and stronger.
As we all know, the most streamed song is Sadder Than Strange. I want to ask you, which was the playlist that pushed that song to be your hit song? How did that song became so big?
I was pleasantly surprised about the amount of interest in that song. It is our most streamed and downloaded song across all the major platforms. I think that, based on the feedback from listeners that contact us, via, for example, Instagram, is that it's such a song that is very pop orientated, electronic, but there's this strong sort of rock contemporary feel to it. And I think the duration of the song, I think, is about right. It just comes in just under 4 minutes. Lyrically, I think it's if I don't mind saying so myself, I think lyrically it clearly tells a story. Amber's voice on it, I think, is phenomenal. She's done an amazing job on it. And I think that, the guitaring in it, there's a great hook, electronic keyboard hook in there. And it's one of those songs where I think lots of people that wouldn't normally listen to that kind of music are drawn to it. And it's just a song that just has this real sort of, I think, hypnotic tempo to it. And that was quite by accident. If I were to play you the probably 10 to 15 different versions of that song to compare to it is now, or every version of that song is very different. So it was quite a journey to get to that final song that you hear now. But boy, you know, am I so glad that, you know, I went through those changes until I was absolutely satisfied, right? Okay, it's got this, it's got that. So it's a very conscious thing, thinking, right, okay, I've got to have an opening. The singing's got to come in fairly quickly. I've got to have, you know, a hook pretty quickly. So it's one of those, you know, things that you really dissect and think, right, okay, I've got a feeling with this song, you know, this could be, you know, one of the outstanding tracks on the album, but was really surprised at in terms of the traction that it got and people sharing it and the playlist. Yeah. I mean, if we talk about playlists, for example, on Spotify, they're mainly playlists of, you know, electronic pop, soft electronic. I mean, you know, these playlisters, they come out with these weird and wacky titles, which I love because, of course, Spotify suggests to you the listening experience these songs, and this is where it's come from, because, you know, obviously on Spotify for artists, you can see where your song is in each different playlist, and when you then delve into those different playlists and you see where your song is positioned in the playlist, we've been very fortunate, sort of most of the playlists where there's probably, let's say, between 80 and 150 songs in that playlist, we're often in the top 20 that appear first, which is great, because then obviously our song is listened to quicker in that playlist. But what surrounds that song by other songs is that you can see very clearly why that song's in that playlist, because the other songs are of a similar sort of genre.
Yeah,
which is great, you know. So it's like a spider's web, you know. It's a ripple effect, you know, and this is how, you know, these songs, you know, from many different artists, you know, they have a body of work, but there's just that one or two songs where it just resonates with more people, so you get a wider audience reach. So that's great. So long may it continue.
So was this your favorite song that you wrote, or did you have another favorite song that you wanted to be the hit weirdly, song?
I mean, weirdly, I mean, when that song appeared on Love Over Destruction, and then we simultaneously released Sadder Than Strange, the reason why we released Sadder Than Strange is because we knew it was probably the most accessible song of the genre of music we were doing. And it was it luck? I mean, yeah, a little bit of luck. Was there a little bit of science behind it? Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, who doesn't do that? You know,
absolutely, yes.
Everyone thinks, right, okay,
everyone.
Yeah, I think this song is going to, you know, probably have more traction than perhaps the other songs for whatever reason.
Yes, I always try to sing with as much conviction as I can, but especially in terms of this song, I feel like the instrumental and how the instruments were blended and used really demanded that strength from me. Emotion's always been the most important element of singing for me, although I always try to hold it back a bit, and I'm always scared of overdoing it. Because emotion's something that I've always struggled with throughout my life, especially physically when I perform, because I'm a very analytical person. In the past, I've always struggled with finding and understanding the heart of the song, but I feel like over the past few years, I've really gotten a lot better with that. And I think that's quite clear in the song, I hope. And I'm always getting better every time I sing, so hopefully for the next album, I'll be even better.
stole my heart away from you. Revenge is sweet and I'll really make you see. The love's so true, that's all I feel as I walk away from the ghost of you. The ghost of you. Oh yeah. There is no love, there is no sadness, only strange, only strange, only strange.
Dream songs. It's like to go and study the playlist, for example, to go to Spotify, study their favorite playlist and analyze how those songs are written in order for them not to copy, but let's say reverse engineer the
Yes.
song
Yeah.
and create something kind of similar in order to get to that playlist. Because
Yeah.
in my case, I don't know, like electro swing, I was obsessed with getting to electro swing playlists as well. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you know, I'm gonna create a track similar to some of these songs in this playlist. Therefore, you get in, and when you get in, you get a lot of listeners,
Which, you know, which is great.
Mhm.
So yeah, and you're absolutely right. You know, you manipulate, I think, for the right
Yeah.
reasons. You know, back in the day before there was streaming platforms or whatever, you'd release a song and you'd hope, and then the record company would
No,
market it. But now you have to really think about, right, okay, if I'm going to do a body of music, I've really got to think, right, okay, this song I ideally like to have in particular playlists.
Yeah.
So, you know, some would argue it's, you know, it's quite contrived, quite manipulated, but that's the industry that we're in, you know. As long as you keep your integrity in terms of, right,
Exactly.
well, you know, my first priority is the music that I want to create, and it's something that I feel people will enjoy. Then you think about, right, okay, so let's now do our own kind of marketing in terms of, right, what playlists are out there existingly, what music curators can I put this song in front of, get their feedback. So it's a very much a collaborative process now, I think, because we can work digitally. It's a lot quicker, but of course you are now becoming even a smaller fish in a bigger pond, because lots of other artists are doing exactly the same thing. So it's a continuous continuous farming mentality, that you have to farm your music, you know, get it out there, keep it fresh, keep it alive, you know, for people to, you know, easily access it, and hopefully you rise, you know, progressively in lots of different playlists. So yeah.
Yeah, and same thing happens when you want to have your song on TV and film. Have you had your song on TV film?
No, not yet. No, I mean,
Okay.
you know, the record company, they, you know, they have someone that specializes in the sync department.
Sync.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that is, I think, the holy grail, isn't it? If you get like 30 seconds of your song, or even, you know, a little bit in a, you know, TV, film show, whatever it, commercial, whatever, is, you know, is the holy grail. But then, of course, you've got then the other avenue of, you know, legality around publishing and royalties, and having, you know, a sensible arrangement and agreement to have the song being used, etc. But putting that aside, you know, it would just be, you know, and for every artist, yeah, I think they love just a piece of their music to be featured, because it's a stamp. It's not going away. It's there.
Yeah.
Forever. And of course, sorry, go on.
I was lucky enough that I got a music plays on TV. It was 4 minutes played, my song.
Wow, that is great.
Yeah, I was lucky for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was also another thing that I was gonna mention, even for artists who has that goal of having music plays on TV. that's another thing that they have to consider.
Yeah,
Going to sites, for example, TuneFind, where you
yeah,
can see all the songs. It's like a small playlist, all the songs. For example, you go to TuneFind and you see, okay, I want kind of like my song to be featured on Vampire Diaries, so
yes,
you
yeah, yeah,
go and see and check all the songs that are there. You see what vibe they use, then you
yeah,
see the music supervisors who is in charge of that,
yeah,
and you kind of start to create a style similar to that in order to be a good fit for that, and then go and
yeah.
contact that music supervisor, which will be that
That's
curator
correct.
of the
Yes,
playlist,
yes,
like
of
the
course,
same
yes,
thing.
yes,
And
yeah,
that
that's
is
right.
how you can get your feet there. Of
That's
course
right.
that it's not easy,
Yeah.
but that can be like a start of getting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's though, things have changed massively,
Mhm.
in the music industry, there's one thing that never changes, and that's just keep on plugging, plugging, plugging. You're quite right. You might send, a particular track where you think, would fit, and, the
Yeah,
music supervisor or the person in charge of syncing songs might think, well, it's not fit for purpose at the
yeah,
moment, but
yeah,
it's not to say, right, okay, we'll submit another one. They may think, a year down the line, oh yeah, God, I remember hearing that song.
yeah,
That might work. And a lot of these songs that you hear, in films and TV and that kind of stuff, invariably the artist recorded it like 3 or 4 years ago,
mm,
you know,
yeah.
and then it's just pulled. It's just been picked up. But yeah, I
It
mean, to have
has
it
to be in alignment with what the curators, music supervisors
exactly, yeah.
are looking for. For example, if the music supervisors and
Yes,
need a scene for, killing, thriller, killer, like a
yeah,
terror,
exactly,
that
yeah,
the song has to be in alignment.
yeah, yeah,
Usually, instrumentals also work
yeah,
very well,
yeah, yeah.
and therefore if you have your song, you
Mm,
should you should be very clear on everything that you own, the
mm.
masters, the
Yes, yeah,
stems,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
have to have all the files, therefore that way
yeah.
you can do business. Otherwise
Yeah,
you
exactly.
won't
Yeah,
be
yeah,
the
yeah. I'm lucky in the sense that
Mhm.
anything that stems, files,
Mm,
metadata on files.
yeah.
It's watertight. It's properly registered. It's published,
Yeah.
correctly. So you minimize the risk of any leaks in your IP of that music,
Yeah,
just in case someone picks it up and goes, yeah, I want to use 30 seconds of that, instrumental piece, or the opening or the ending of it, or whatever.
exactly.
But, I think that, of course, with streaming services like Amazon and Netflix, I often, watch films or documentaries, and they're using a piece of music in the background. I think, my
Mhm.
goodness me, how many people have watched this film globally on
Yeah,
Netflix, and
exactly.
that song is coming into their living rooms, or, into their laptops or their phones.
Yeah.
Must be, and there's without doubt, I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've listened to a piece of music, put on Shazam, and thought, and put
Yes,
the phone to the
exactly.
TV, and it's come up, right, this is the song by the artist. Then it's like, right, okay, let's check out their album. Wow, I'd never heard of these people.
Yeah, that's how people discover artists as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Even when my song was in iZombie, I received like a lot of messages like on my YouTube. Oh my God, thank you so much, iZombie, for introducing me. It was
yes,
very,
yeah, yeah, and I think it's also a great way
uh,
to
yeah,
interact with people that
yeah,
listen to your music. And I think
yeah,
it's so important that artists do you know communicate with their listeners,
yeah,
depending on
absolutely.
depending on how big, how many followers you have, or people that
Yeah,
but I think it's important that you reach out to people that listen to your music, because the competition is so strong. It's a cliche, but it's true. We're in a very competitive landscape,
hmm,
and you've got to do things just a little bit different, but be more memorable for the right reasons. And I think one of those things is about that kind of intervention with people that listen to your music, because you know they've taken the time to listen to it, they've told
Yeah.
other people about it, they've added it to playlists, so they've invested time in you
Mm-hmm.
to make you even more popular. Why shouldn't we invest a bit of time with them in terms of, you know, a gratification? Well, you know, thanks
Yeah.
for listening and following us, because we know that there's millions of other artists you could listen to,
Yeah.
you know.
And I also think that the way to stand out is also like finding your niche, because as you mentioned, there's like a lot of competition. Therefore, you should be like super specific in what your niche is and what you have to offer.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can find like the perfect audience for you, the perfect
Yeah.
fit. And you build like that community where you interact with people and
Yeah.
you can serve more to your audience.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's I mean, you could write
Yeah.
you could write a university thesis on it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and it
Exactly.
would be this big, you know. It's not only it's a little bit of luck, it's gut feel, it's emotion,
Actually, when I was
and
in
it's
music school,
strategy.
people just were thinking that, okay, you know, I'm gonna release music and, you know, whatever it happens, happens. But it doesn't actually work like that. If you
No.
don't have a plan,
Yeah.
it's not, nothing will happen. You cannot just release something and just expect for the best, because that's not how it works.
No.
I have a friend also, she's a writer, and she spent like 2 years writing her book. And you know, I don't want to be negative with her, and but I asked her, hey, you know, you're about to finish your book, what's your plan?
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, I'm just gonna release it, and if I find a publisher and blah 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 blah. But what do you mean by that?
Yes. Yeah.
If I find it, like,
Yeah.
no, you have to take control of your life.
Yeah.
You know, because if you are gonna expect luck to come over you, that's not gonna happen, and you're gonna end up very depressed and very miserable. Literally, you have to take as much as control as you can. You know, do a marketing plan. If you don't understand how that works, go and get some guidance on how marketing works, and just plan ahead, you know, and just don't wait also for someone to sign you. Take as much as control as you can, because otherwise, you know, nothing is gonna happen if you just release music or a book and just sit there and expect for the best.
Yeah, and don't take the first thing that's offered to you.
Exactly. That's
You have
another thing
every
as
right.
well.
You know, it might seem exciting at the time, or you know, there's somebody in the music industry that's interested in me. Listen, you're probably going to be very excited, but at the same time, you have every right to say no.
Exactly,
You
because
know,
otherwise, that's how people can take advantage of you. You know what I
exactly,
mean? And
yeah,
I've seen a
yeah.
lot of friends like that. You know.
Yeah, they kind of sell their soul to the devil, and it's kind of like, you know, it's
Yeah.
too late. And because now it's structured in such a way in terms of, you know, mechanical royalties, recording
Yeah.
like what? I mean, who invented this stuff? But that's the
Yeah.
game. That's what we're in. And if you are so focused on, you know, the notoriety and I want to be known and I want to be loved, and you don't focus on the other stuff, you are going to be on a road that's not going to be very nice. It's not going to have a pleasant outcome.
Yeah, thank you so absolutely. much for giving me and sharing with me all your insights regarding to this album, Hope Over Destruction,
No problem.
which was released May 10th. So I'm looking forward to listening much more about you and your projects. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.